All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cerebral Palsy and Fitness Podcast. I'm here with Wendell. He is a former classmate of mine and good friend, and he also does, I believe, it's tech support for Apple.
Well, we'll
And
say tech support for Avalon to keep everything a
okay,
little bit better. Mhm.
okay, yeah, and today we're gonna go over his over. I mean, we're gonna learn a little bit about him. You know what he's done over the last few years as far as like successes and struggles, and not only that, but we're gonna get into detail on how he overcame a tremendous accident, and he's still here today, ready to share his story and positivity and make a difference in everyone else's lives. So, Wendell, take it away, man.
All right. Like I said, name's Wendell. So between me and David, I've known David since I would like to say 2008, before we got really deep into high school and life. Life moves forward faster than you think. Don't blink. But pretty much ever since I met him, everybody has the same look when they first see him or anything else like that. Like, man, this guy is weird. Not
Oh
gonna
yeah,
lie.
oh yeah. I used to get that a lot. I mean, I don't blame you. I still get it to this day, even around adults. It's like, you know.
Right, right. It's
But
gonna happen. But I think me and him kind of shared more of a different kind of friendship. I always hung around with what you would call the bad kids of the group of high school. Although our school was a technical school, there wasn't really any bullying or anything like that. But we would call the bad kids because we would run around and mess with people on their computers and everything like that. I used to mess with David all the time just to get his body moving because I knew what he was going through and I wanted him to grow in strength and persevere and, move through these things. The best time that we had was most likely senior year with obviously Coach Snyder. She was the
oh yeah,
greatest
man.
here. That was our last class of the day too, and I tell you, when you go through high school and you don't get to do any of those electives or anything like that, you end up with getting stuck in a class with seven people.
Hey,
Seven people. Yeah.
but the best part of it is she made the class fun. Not only that, but she
Mhm.
didn't let shit fly by. Like when we're doing the pasta with pennies back in high school, and
Oh
they didn't
yeah.
let us win it. She's like, we're still gonna have a pasta party no matter what, and she made it
Right.
happen. She made it happen.
Hmm.
So,
She was
I,
something else, that's for
so
sure.
she was, I'd say, a blessing in disguise for a lot of us, in a way.
She really was like it's hard to find that one person that you can connect with, and she just had that kind of like how do you even say it, like that angelic aura almost, and she was just so kind-hearted and so laid back. It was, we were all sad when she had to go away for a little bit to do surgery and everything like that,
Yeah.
so it was good in its own ways.
Yeah, and I remember I think we had a few classes together. I think we had math, and we used to see each other out in the hallway, and we used to ride
Yeah.
home together on the bus with Mr. A, our bus driver.
Oh yeah.
God bless him. I wish I could be able to contact him still, but he's one of the nicest drivers I ever met.
Right. Yeah, he was the best. I think I had him 2009 and 2010, junior and senior year. I was the first one to be picked up in the morning. So guess who had to be at the bus stop at 5:20 a.m.? This guy.
Yep. That's how
But I tell
typically it is
you,
in high school.
yeah, but I tell you, you always get that free extra hour of sleep on the bus. Hey, hey.
Yeah, that extra freedom of sleeping on an hour on the bus. So,
That's for sure.
and then to kind of go into the segment,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about how you got into your accident and how it kind of impacted you at the beginning. What did you experience?
Mm. So the very first one that I got into was freshman and sophomore year, 2006, 2007. My brother was driving my friend's car, and we avoided an accident in front of us for a Chrysler 300 to rear end us at 60.
Oh man.
So it was a two-door coupe car. On the left side, he pushed the back seat to the front seat, and I was sitting on the right.
Wow.
So uh, it was a very near-death experience. It was scary almost, but I didn't notice anything at that point. I had a little bit of back pain for some whiplash, a cut across my forehead from where the glass flew, but there wasn't anything serious when it started coming down to it. As the years went by and I started putting physical labor on my body, I started to develop a herniation in my lower back. One of the actual one of the actual cushions that sit between your spine started to inflate.
Oh man,
Then
that
came
sounds awful.
around. It's the amount of pain that I can only describe is like sitting at an 8 out of 10 every day, and it's pretty bad when especially when you're trying to do something to better yourself, and a lot of limitations get in the way. But what really caused the explosion of it in totality was in 2015 when I was doing delivery for Domino's. I was
Oh
with them
yeah, I
for
remember. I remember seeing you there
Mhm.
at one point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was with them for about a year and a half, and about close to a year, I got again rear-ended at a dead stop. Lady wasn't paying attention; she was texting on her phone, and just rear-ended me in a 2009 Nissan Sentra. Now, when you look at the car, you see it totaled it. It did some damage to it, but there was no real damage internally. What ended up happening is, I'm always one of safety advents. I wear my seatbelts. I do everything like that. But when she hit me, it was pretty much the whiplash and the bounce back of my back developed four more herniations in it. So the lower lumbar of my spine is basically over the years giving out. It can't handle anything anymore. I was put on a weight limit from a doctor: do not lift more than 10 pounds for the remainder of my life. So, when I heard that, I
Wow.
looked at it and I said, what happens when I have children? I want to pick up my kid. What am I going to do? And he's like, you're not going to be able to.
That is,
And these are, those are the shocking realizations of what do I do with my life? Because if I can't do physical labor and 90% of workforce is physical labor, what am I going to do? So that's pretty much what the accident did. It put me in a situation where I have to take care of where I sit, how long I sit. I have to do everything. I mean, for this job alone, I bought $250 worth of like a gaming chair and a cushion to sit on and everything like that, just to make sure I can get through 8 hours of the day doing what I do. Um,
hey man,
so,
if you need to get up during the podcast, feel free to, man. I don't want to hold you sitting down for too long.
oh
I
yeah,
understand.
I'll be fine for. I normally could be fine for about an hour or two, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at
Yeah,
tops. But I also have medication, so I'm fine.
yeah, I won't take too long. So you're good. I'm not gonna hold you hostage, you know?
I got you. Yeah. So pretty much from there, what else would you want to know? That was the accident. That was the sum
Um,
up.
how did you I guess post accident, how did you cope with I guess the realization that you were injured? I know you're feeling a lot of emotions. You were feeling probably sad, disappointed, worried, confused,
Hmm.
possibly anxious. You're feeling all these kinds of emotions. How did you cope through all of that and
So
just kept going? I mean, did you have
I
times where
got you.
you're like, I want to be, I'm done with this. I don't want to, deal with it anymore, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, day in and day out, I still have times where that comes across my mind. I'm being in the middle of working, and my mind just says, "Call out." Be done with today. Just walk away so you can go lay down and get rid of all of this. But it's always been uh, mind over matter when it comes down to it. If you can sit there through all of that pain and agony and still want to get up in the morning, you're winning. You're winning in the day.
Exactly,
I've
man.
so in order to cope after the accident ended up happening, I went through a lot of chiropractic. I was walking on a cane for 6 months because I couldn't stand up, let alone put on my own shorts. So, the biggest factor that I have to thank is my brother. So my brother, I've been living with my brother for 7 years. And he actually, congratulations to him, just bought his house. This house, the one we've been renting for 6 years, just bought it in April.
That is awesome.
So it is his now. But when I first started going through those struggles, my brother was always there for me. He would take me to my appointments. He'd help me get dressed. These are just things that, it's they normally say I'm not my brother's keeper. A lot of people say that, but I mean, your job alone shows that you are your brother's keeper.
Yeah,
um
there's a true meaning behind it. It's my
mhm.
brother's keeper is kind of mentorship. So in a sense, your brother was sort of like your mentor. He helped guide you
Yeah,
to be happy, to be positive, despite the
right,
major challenge of dealing with a major accident.
right. And so sorry about the vape. Most likely, I actually quit cigarettes
Ah, you're
seven
good.
years ago. So
You're good. I
I
got people that cuss. I got people that do a bunch of
oh
crazy
yeah.
stuff on the show. So hey,
uh, it is what it is. Podcasts are the most beautiful thing because you could be yourself. Like, who
exactly,
cares what other people think? It's at
exactly.
this point. But they want to listen in. They want to hear about these struggles. It's not an easy life to live with herniations in your back. It's nothing compared to what other people go through. Of course, I'm not one to be like, hey, my life is worse or anything like that. It's more of, I'm with you on that same level. My brother was a military man. He got out of the military with some injuries, and he's on disability for pretty much his life. But even he will tell me from time to time, my injuries suffice to nothing with what you're going through. Because, he might have had some arthritis in his back, or, might have some issues that flare up or anything like that. But that man went through the military, got shot at, blown up, everything else like that, and yet he's still doing the Lord's work. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, he's
exactly,
still
man.
getting up in the morning and being an electrician like he wanted to do and everything like that. So it's pretty much you know, when it comes down to it, the best motivation that you can get from anybody whatsoever is friends and family. Never leave their side. If you have that friend, keep them for life, like me and David here. We don't talk as much as we used to. We don't see each other as much as we used to, but I still reach out to him. I reached out to him about a year ago to talk about becoming a teacher because I wanted to move forward because, my knowledge.
Is
When
is that
like,
still something you'd like to pursue at one point?
I would still like to try to pursue it, um, because I've always seen myself as kind of like, if you remember Mr. Barcelo,
Yeah.
right? I still talk to him daily. I actually just tagged him the other day on Facebook about riding the new Velocicoaster at Universal. And oh my gosh, that ride was amazing. But I tell you, I always go in there with a secret. I have back injuries. All their signs literally say, do not ride if you have back injuries. I'm like, you know what? That's not going to stop me.
You're
You
a
know what
risk
I mean?
taker. You're
Right.
you're you're
Don't
like
lose.
yeah, you're like fuck this. I'm gonna ride this roller coaster. I'm gonna live my life.
Right. Don't let any kind of disability stop you from doing what you want to do, because there's nothing in this world. Pain is a factor of the brain. That's all I got to say. When it comes down to it, you might be in pain, but remember, you control that pain.
Exactly, you do. I mean, you got to.
Hmm.
But it's really um how you control disability depends on your mindset and who you're surrounded by. If you're always
Of course.
negative, you're always going to think negative thoughts, and you're always going to think you're always in pain and that you can't do this and you can't do that. Meanwhile, look at people like us who are trying to be successful.
Hmm.
You're being successful despite your injuries. You're still moving along and pushing forward, and that's what makes somebody somebody special, somebody
Hmm.
who's willing to go above and beyond for people. And
Right.
I guarantee you that people will see that down the line. It just takes time, but people will see that. Like, I didn't become an advocate in one day. It took me years. Like
Of
it took me until
course.
I was 25 to accept myself. So now that I know who I am, this disability is me, I embrace it. I love myself for who I am. So, and that's something that I feel like you're trying to I guess to push, is to love yourself and to be positive with yourself, and don't be so hard
Right.
on yourself for being injured, or for
Right.
having a
Hmm.
disability, you know.
Right. So like when it comes to hardships, right? I'm not gonna lie. This situation that I went through is not natural when it comes to it, because there's not a lot of things. Some people don't have siblings, some people don't have family, some people don't have friends to help or anything like that. I was out of work for 3 years after Domino's. I did not do a single thing because of the amount of pain and negativity that was going through my body and head and everything like that. And it was just at one point, my brother just kind of mentioned, he was like, why don't you try to do a tech job? He's like, maybe that will help a little bit better, one that you don't have to physically labor or anything else like that. So I did. I did one through Alorica, and I worked for Dell for a year and a half. And then I left the company right before COVID started. And I left it, I'm not going to lie, due to what felt like a heart attack at the age of, 27. That's what it ended up feeling like. But what it really came down to was an anxiety attack. What I ended up happening is, it felt like my body was going numb. My brain didn't want to do anything to function anyway whatsoever. It didn't want to do the job anymore. So I left the company. Um, and then I was out of work again for 2 years. I actually just started my new job in April. So it was through these moments that your family is really there for you out of everything, because I was living with my brother, and he, being a brother, he didn't charge me rent, he didn't charge me anything. He fed me, kept me clothed, kept me clean, made sure I had a place to stay. And I finally, my own mind said, I want to step out of this. I enjoy, I'm not a fan, I've never been a fan of asking for help. Um, I'm a very straightforward kind of guy, like sit here and you shouldn't have to ask for help. You can do it yourself. Just get up. You know what I mean? And my brother doing that for me was the biggest help I could have ever received. And I didn't even ask for it. This is where I'm trying to tell everyone, you know, never look past your family. When you need help the most, they're always there to help you. Granted, when it came to it, the hardships were a little bit more difficult. I'm not the perfect person. I was in jail twice. It was just, stupid decisions at a stupid time. And, they put you in that position. Working with Domino's too, I developed PTSD because I got robbed at gunpoint. So that was a very scary
Wow.
situation. And the craziest part about that was my first week of working for
No
Domino's. And
way.
yeah, and the craziest part about it is my manager expected me to quit, and I didn't. I didn't. I didn't. I stayed there, and he moved me over to morning shifts because it happened late at night. And he's like, "You'll never work a night again." He's like, "You're only gonna be my morning guy." So I was like, "All right, cool." So we developed these bonds, and I actually just found out my manager that I did work under actually died
Dang, man.
about 2 years ago from
Mhm.
heart attack.
Wow.
Um, and the crazy part, he was only 39,
Wow, he's young.
and yeah. But the whole thing is where I'm getting at here is perseverance is everything. If you want to know where I am now, I make a little bit above 15 an hour doing the job that I do, working with probably the best customers I've ever dealt with. When it comes to it, I mean, not everybody is tech savvy. I maybe deal with like 20 people a day. But it's these people that call in. When you think of companies, especially big companies, they have a lot of customers. You know what I mean? Like a lot. You're
Yeah.
talking multi-millions, and we only maybe receive about 70,000 calls a day totality
It's a
about it.
lot. A lot of calls.
So, well, yeah, but when you're thinking about it, you know what I mean? Like that's a big company. If they got multi-million users, a little bit of calls like 70,000. That's not even tickling the book. But these are mostly people that are like, they're not tech savvy. They don't really know what they're doing, and they need some assistance. And it's hard at sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I'm doing tech work because you have to kind of, even when you're in a bad mood from home and you work from home, and you have to separate that away from everything and put on this facade that you're the most cheerful person ever. It really helps when you get those customers that are just extremely happy with what you're doing for them, and they show it too. They show that happiness, you know what I mean? So it's not really like it's not really bad in a certain situation. It's a really good mood lifter. How can I explain that? Like, I have fun at work. Like, this is the first time in my life of almost 29, by the way, turned 29 at the end of August.
Hey,
Um,
happy
early.
early birthday. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
early birthday.
Early
I turned
birthday.
29 at the end of August, and I will turn 30 next year. Oh my goodness. Whew. That's a realization, anyways.
Hey man, I turned 30 early this year, so
Yeah, I know you were going through high school. You were a year older than us.
yeah, just
It never
about.
really bothered me. Yeah, it was just you got a late start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I was actually one day away from that cutoff date to get a late start. If I would have started one day, that's crazy. If I would have started one day later, David, I would have never met you.
Yeah, I don't even know how that works. It's so confusing, like especially for these kids in high school, they
Hmm.
middle school, high school nowadays. I don't
Right.
know why, but they still find a way to make fun of other kids that started late. I'm like, you started late. I'm like, dude, you're only like what, few months older than your classmate? Man, just sit down, man. Just don't even say
Like,
anything.
look,
Huh? What's
age.
wrong with you?
Let's tell all these listeners here. Age is just a number, baby. Don't let that age. Don't let that number fool you. You might be 30. You might be 35. You might be 18. You might be 15. Who cares? Enjoy your life. You have plenty of years to go in
Exactly.
it. Take it with a grain of salt. You might be a little bit younger than somebody. I actually was in college before I turned 18, if you want to know.
That's right.
So
You did dual enrollment, right?
I did. What I ended up doing was with Lincoln Tech. I did certified medical assistant,
Oh,
and
nice.
I actually, yeah, I went through a year's school. I was a really good phlebotomist. I knew how to draw blood on. I did it on my externship on over 300 people. Old, young, didn't matter. I was really good at it, like really good. They would always tell me I didn't even feel that, or they would tell me when I came in, "Oh, I got hard veins to find." I'm like, I look at them and I said, "I'm gonna find it." But it's pretty much I didn't really pursue that part of the career because back in 2010, 2011, there wasn't really a lot of medical work. Who knew 10 years later we would spawn into a pandemic, right?
Right? Crazy. Crazy, crazy.
Hmm.
Hey man, so um to kind of close everything out, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's dealing with I guess their own current struggles, and
Hmm.
what would you say to them if they ask you for advice as to, kind of getting through it?
To get through it. Okay, I gotcha. So when it comes down to it, the best advice that you could possibly receive when it comes to getting through the pain, getting through the suffering, I'm not gonna lie, I cried multiple nights because I couldn't do anything about it. There's nothing in certain situations you have to accept what you're going through. Until you accept that, just like David said, it took him until he was 25 to accept who he was. Until you accept that and decide to persevere and move past it, that's where you're going to feel the most emotions. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get all those emotions like, I'm a piece of crap. I can't do anything. Why do I even bother? Anything like that. Don't let your brain talk to you like that. You're the master of your own body. I do know that some people suffer from mental disability, so it's a little bit harder than the others. I'm not perfect myself. But when it comes down to the advice that you would want to get, is never stop moving forward. No matter what stands in your way, push through it like you're breaking through a brick wall with a sledgehammer. Never let those walls go up, never let them stop you. Just whatever you do, dig deep. And I'll give a little advice like my dad did here to my brother through the military. And that was, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, tighten them down and get back on it. Don't let that horse buck you off just so you can,
Exactly.
lay in the dirt.
Hey man, I love that. That's beautiful. That's real beautiful, man. I really I really appreciate our time and the fact that we went through, I mean, your story. It's truly inspiring, and I hope a lot of people listen to it and say, hey, he overcame, you overcame practically two car accidents. You overcame being robbed at gunpoint, and you're still here making a difference, to people from home, and you can make a
Mm-hmm.
difference anywhere.
You really can. Doesn't matter where you might not be, you might not get popular, you might not be known, but as long as in your mind and your body you feel warm and fuzzy because you made a difference to somebody, that's all that matters. Take it one step at a time. Don't try to dive in head first into the 3 foot shallow end. It's not going to work. You know, um, I can't. So, like I said, because of the injuries, David, obviously, I can't really work out. I can't really do much. So, the only thing I really truly love doing is swimming. That's the best thing that I can actually do because it's not weight guaranteed, but it is cardio that doesn't hurt, you know. So, there's always something that you can do when you think you can do nothing. There's always something.
Exactly, man. And um, I was, and then aren't you a Twitch streamer as well? Do you Twitch any video games, any PC games?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
actually,
feel free to
I
share that with the followers. Maybe they might
Oh
decide
yeah.
to follow you, and I can post your link if you send it to me on
Oh
the
yeah. So
video.
I have literally the let me see here. I literally have the easiest Twitch name when it comes to it. Let me send it in chat here. So it is twitch.tv and then I believe it was backslash and then linear LINEAR underscore dash. Normally most of the time I have a streaming profile that I do. I do mostly Switch games. I play Monster Hunter. I play World of Tanks on Switch. But what I've been doing recently is, I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing a little bit of League of Legends on the phone, but I use BlueStacks to do it. So I have a little streaming device that I can plug into any of my, my electronics to play on and stream it to my Twitch. I play on my Xbox One X. Most of the time, I'm playing Monster Hunter World on there. I play Farm Together. It's just kind of like a laid back little casual game. It's kind of cool. It's like Farmville, but better. I play Division 2. I play a lot of FPSs, but I'm not a competitive FPS player. I will not really get on multiplayer for like Call of Duty or anything like that. The only one that I will get on, and it is coming soon, baby, is Battlefield. And that 2042 is going to blow the minds of everyone. That's what I'm really aiming for. Um, but yeah, I'm I had so many different kinds of way of destroying enemies on Battlefield. They nicknamed me the Chopper Hunter because when I get into a tank, I'll blow your chopper right out of the sky. That's what I do.
Uh, Good stuff, man. And like I said, I appreciate you being on the show. It's been a
Oh
pleasure.
yeah,
I'm
definitely.
glad I'm glad we've been good friends for so long, and
Yeah.
I hope that this story is heard by a lot of people and it resonates to them. and they can see that you can overcome just about anything. So I'm glad that you were here. Thank you for being on the show. And you
No
guys,
problem.
if you want to listen to this episode, listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and every other major podcasting outlet out there. I just recently got on Red Circle, so you can check me
Oh,
that there as well. And thank you for you guys for listening. And always remember, if I can do it, so can you.